It all begins at 7th High School in Jiangsu. Amidst the quietness of the class, a sleeping boy at the back of the room abruptly lifts his head. Startled, the main character wakes up in shock, breathing heavily. Immediately, he kicks his desk hard, yelling that he refuses to accept this reality. Completely disoriented, Chin Fan looks at his own hands, trying to figure out if he is in the underworld. At that moment, the other students start laughing at his face nonstop. One student mocks him, asking if the loser was dreaming about the time he was banished from the Chin family. Brushing the mockery aside, the young man pats his own body and notices he is still breathing. Looking at the knocked-over desk, he clearly remembers suffering a brutal defeat. Realizing the situation, he concludes that he has indeed gone back 500 years in time. Exactly to the most critical phase of his existence, right after his family was disowned by their clan. During that period, a rich kid named Wang Zijun and the MC's own fiancée made a point of ridiculing him for the expulsion. Later on, his parents even managed to build a business from scratch to try to bounce back. However, his second uncle set a cruel trap, resulting in the ruthless imprisonment of them both. They ended up passing away full of sorrow due to that immense injustice. To make matters worse, the Du family also attacked him, causing severe injuries to his legs. The most tragic part was the involvement of his girlfriend Yinyuo, which culminated in the young woman's untimely demise. Exactly when he was about to meet his end, his master suddenly appeared in the room. The old man declared that Chin Fan had been chosen by the divine path. Thus, he accompanied his master to the cultivation world, where he trained fiercely for 100 years. Overcoming all barriers, he established himself as the only mortal holy emperor of that era on the continent. All that was left was to overcome the final lightning trial to finally achieve immortality. However, he ended up being defeated and consumed by his own inner demon, born from his hatred. The surprise came right after, upon noticing that this divine trial granted him a new chance at life. Overcome with relief and indignation, he lets out a manic laugh in the middle of the classroom. Faced with that bizarre situation, the students whisper, believing the boy has completely lost his mind. Bothered by the disruption, the teacher warns that he will teach him a lesson to wake him up to reality. With a heavy expression, the young man swears that this time he won't allow any past regrets to repeat themselves. The teacher slams the desk hard, mimicking a whip crack to grab the class's attention. Ignoring the sound, Chin Fan promises that his second uncle has no idea he has been given a new opportunity. Intimidated by the young man's posture, the teacher takes a step back while the class looks on in confusion. The MC realizes that his current physique is still too fragile to make spiritual energy flow properly. Regaining his composure, the teacher orders everyone to be quiet immediately. He scolds the class, stating that such disorder is unacceptable in a college prep class. Trying to make things worse, a classmate snitches that Chin Fan was sleeping and woke up screaming out of nowhere. Seizing the opportunity, the educator insults the young man, calling him insolent and judging his appearance. Keeping quiet, the boy remembers how that same guy treated him like trash when he was disowned by his relatives. With zero tolerance, the teacher orders him to leave and stand in the hallway for a timeout. Seeing right through the phoniness, Chin Fan gives a sarcastic smile and asks if a basic degree makes him better than anyone else. Astonished by the disrespect, the man is left speechless witnessing a student confront him like that. Trembling with anger, the old man yells, asking if the boy knows who he's messing with. Calmly, the young man throws in his face that he is nothing but a relative of the principal, supported by favors from wealthy people. The guy starts panicking and tells the boy to shut his mouth immediately, clearly disturbed by the call-out. Recalling the past, the MC remembers that before he had no choice but to endure that abuse in silence. However, warning that the tables have turned, he hears the teacher yelling that he's suspended for a week. Unshaken, Chin Fan moves forward, determined to collect all the debts from his past life with interest. The educator believes the punishment settled the matter and gets annoyed upon noticing the student's arrogant smirk. Intending to humiliate him further, the old man brings up how previously the boy's parents begged for him to stay in school. Just hearing that, the young man takes a step forward, completely shifting his demeanor. With a serious face, he asks how that guy has the audacity to insult his family. Swiftly, he delivers a strong backhand slap straight to the teacher's face. Due to the force, the man is sent flying and crashes, breaking some desks, startling everyone. Looking back, the MC warns that anyone who crosses his path will meet the same fate. Lying on the floor, the educator cries in pain and swears he will expel him for that assault. Extremely cold, Chin Fan fires back saying he only got one hit thanks to the good manners his parents taught him. The old man continues groaning in a corner, completely humiliated in front of the entire class. Upon leaving, the young man thinks that he still lacks power and needs to focus on getting stronger quickly. 30 minutes later, he reaches the poorest and most forgotten part of town. Walking through the narrow streets, he admits to himself that he never thought he would return to that place after so long. Last time around, it was the old house inherited from his grandmother that provided a roof for the family to survive under. Right upon arriving, he sees his parents working exhaustively in the yard. Worried, his father drops his tools and asks why he came back from school so early. His mother, in turn, runs toward him, asking if someone bothered him on the street. Full of emotion, Chin-fan hugs them both tightly, declaring that he missed them immensely. In his past life, due to his uncle's cruel schemes, he couldn't even say goodbye before their passing. The parents are completely confused by that sudden and deep display of affection. Giving the young man light pats on the back, the father jokes, saying a man should always be tough. Wiping his tears, the young man agrees and swears that, this time, he will protect them both at all costs. At that moment, a luxury car parks in front of the humble home, drawing the neighbors' attention. Upon recognizing the arrogant guy stepping out of the car, the MC instantly glares. It is Zhou Yiheng, the head of the Zhou family and the very same ungrateful man who backstabbed his family in the past. The boy's father greets the wealthy man cordially, asking the reason for the surprise visit. Breaking the friendliness, the man in the suit orders his daughter not to waste time talking to people of that level. The well-dressed young woman agrees, stating that her former fiancé isn't even worthy of looking at her. Brushing the insults aside, Chin-fan just watches them in silence, already plotting his next moves. Without an ounce of shame, Zhou Yiheng points his finger and announces he is there to break off the engagement for good. The MC listens as the rich man states that people from different social classes shouldn't mix. Rejecting the offer right away, he warns that the two of them have no right to judge him in this lifetime. Zuman gets outraged by the response and insults the boy, calling him a toad wishing for swan meat. The mother defends her son and furiously asks if old Joe came all the way there just to talk nonsense. Then the wealthy man fakes politeness by asking his daughter to mind her manners, and throws in their faces that they no longer belong to the main family. With conviction, Chin-fan recalls that it was his own father who helped the Joes in the past. He lists that all the capital and connections of that ungrateful family came to be thanks to that support. Being phony, Joe tries to defuse the situation by claiming he only wants to safeguard the youngster's future. Breaking the act, the girl offers 10 million to void the marriage contract, while her father pretends to scold her. The young man looks at them both with disdain and asks if they are treating their daughter like cheap merchandise. Out of patience, the young woman points her finger and demands he stop trying to profit off an old piece of paper. Right after, she tries to slap him, insulting him for not being worthy of being with her. Swiftly, the boy blocks the strike by firmly grabbing the girl's arm. Squeezing her wrist, he guarantees that if his parents weren't present, neither of them would leave there unharmed. Feeling pain, the girl complains and is shocked by the enormous strength of that supposed loser. Completely out of patience, the MC pushes her to the ground and orders them both to get lost. While helping his daughter up, Joe notices their image will be ruined if this becomes public. Trying to keep his composure, the man suppresses his anger and insists he came peacefully to talk. To put the rich folks in their place, the young man demands the girl bow 100 times, begging for forgiveness, and promises to destroy their family's influence. He asks his parents for a vote of confidence and watches the wealthy folks drive away. Walking to the car, the preppy girl grumbles that she wants to ruin that trash, but her father warns they will fall back for now. Annoyed by the setback, the suit-wearing man wonders how that cowardly boy could have ruined the whole plan. He assures his daughter he has several other ways to deal with that kind of people. In Joe's view, the boy is only being so cocky because of that darn contract. Once inside the luxury car, the man orders the driver to step on it, swearing a terrible end for the family. Swiftly, the imported vehicle disappears through the streets of the humble neighborhood. Looking down the empty street, Chin-fan concludes he will need to act first before the rich folks return. Anxious, the mother touches her son's arm and notes how drastically his behavior has changed. Turning to his parents, he calmly explains that it's no longer possible to keep living that way. Holding his mother's hands, the MC promises they will never let anyone humiliate them again. Faced with such an intense promise, the two are left completely speechless. Moved, the woman hugs her son tightly and declares he will always be their greatest pride. Returning the affection, the young man assures them their lives will take a massive turn from that moment on. During the early morning hours, he leaps across the city buildings, focused on changing the rules of that world. Noticing the spiritual energy on the planet is very low, the young man decides to find a proper spot to practice. With a precise jump, he lands smoothly on the edge of a tall building. Bathed in moonlight, the young man takes a deep breath while looking at his surroundings. Sensing an energy flow nearby, he celebrates his great luck in finding an ideal spot so quickly. Once at the city park, a blue aura begins to swirl around him near the lake. Sitting in the lotus position, he absorbs the location's power and realizes it will be enough to level up his stay. During the process, the cultivator understands that losing his previous power wasn't entirely a bad thing. Previously, his rush to grow left his foundation fragile and led him straight to failure. This time, he focuses on building a flawless foundation from scratch to achieve true immortality. As day breaks, the intense meditation continues peacefully among the trees. Suddenly, a blast of mystical energy pushes the water away around the rock. Opening his eyes intensely, the young man's pupils glow in a bright golden hue. Excited by the development, he clenches his fists upon realizing he awakened the flaming golden eyes. Standing up, he figures that, even with a low cultivation level, that visual ability will be very useful. Nearby, an elderly man practicing martial arts finds the boy's presence quite intriguing. Moving his arms smoothly, the older gentleman mentions how rare it is to find young people meditating so early. The MC stretches and casually replies he was just soaking in nature's energy. The gentleman tells him to make himself at home, and the young man decides to head back before his parents wake up. Watching the young man walk away, the elderly master shows a curious expression about that person. Just then, a bodyguard in a suit approaches and asks if he should look into the suspicious youth. Rejecting the idea, the old man focuses on what's important and asks what time his granddaughter is getting back from her trip. Upon finding out her plane will land soon, the elderly man gets excited to spend time with the girl. Reaching his front gate, Chin Fan announces loudly that he is home. He hands a bag to his mom, using the excuse that he went for a jog and grabbed breakfast while he was out. On another side of town, a thug monitors the boy from a distance and confirms his target via self. With bad intentions, the criminal accepts the job over the phone, believing the target is just a harmless kid. The scene shifts to the lavish Joe residence in broad daylight. Lounging comfortably on the sofa, the wealthy young woman orders over the phone that her guys make the boy suffer slowly. At the modest home, the mother grabs her son's arm in a panic after receiving a call from the high school. Asking her to stay calm, the young man explains he just taught the teacher a lesson for insulting their family. With a resolute look, he promises that in 3 days the principal will come crawling to them to apologize. The parents are utterly bewildered by their son's boldness upon hearing such an absurd claim. As soon as he turns around, the mother asks where he is going, and he says he will use his day off to train. Giving a reason for heading out, the MC says he needs to get stronger quickly to protect their home. Watching his son walk out the gate, the father speaks with admiration about his drastic change in behavior. Back at the park lake, the cultivator resumes absorbing energy at an incredible speed. Sweating profusely from the effort, he estimates he is very close to breaking through the mortal barrier. Nearby, the elderly master notices the boy's return, while the bodyguard senses something off in the air. Terrified, the guy in the suit warns that the air around them is being drained rapidly. Amazed by that impossible event, the elderly man widens his eyes as he realizes what is happening. Watching from afar, the gentleman notes with shock that the boy is indeed practicing cultivation. However, the peace of the moment is shattered by heavy footsteps heading their way. A group of thugs shows up, and the red-haired boss points out that someone paid top dollar to teach the kid a lesson. Wrapping up his practice, the MC calmly disperses the energy aura around him. The crook approaches arrogantly, saying the kid's time is up and that he missed having such an easy game. Observing the situation, the suited bodyguard asks if the boss wants him to handle it. Taking a sip of tea, the elderly man orders him to just watch at first, to find out if the young man is truly exceptional. Annoyed at being ignored, the leader tells his goons to record everything clearly to send to the client later. Charging in with a bat, he yells for them not to miss a single second of the target's cries of pain. Full of himself, the redhead launches a violent attack, swearing he will make the young man beg for mercy instantly. Realizing he only hit thin air, the criminal is completely baffled by the speed of the dodge. Showing zero effort, Chin Fan delivers a precise strike that sends the tough guy flying, screaming. Calmly standing up from the ground, the cultivator says that group showed up at the perfect time. Holding the opponent's weapon, he figures he just leveled up and really needed a warm-up. Terrified, another thug yells at his buddies, demanding everyone attack at once since he is just a kid. Driven by the money, the accomplices charge forward, reminding themselves the boy is worth 200,000. With incredible reflexes, the young man lands a swift strike with the bat and drops the first attacker. Without allowing any defense, he immediately follows up with another fast hit, making the second thug fall screaming. Seeing his goons get taken down, the redhead panics, not understanding how this is real. The bodyguard admits he is stunned by the young man's skills, and the old man smiles, finding the scene very intriguing. Just then, a woman's voice calling for her grandpa echoes through the park, drawing the suited duo's attention. Surrounded by the downed opponents, the young man tosses the weapon, complaining they weren't even good enough for a warm-up. He proclaims his own name loudly, making sure he has become someone no one will ever dare challenge again. With a dark expression, the cultivator recalls that in his previous incarnation, this exact gang also hunted him down. Back then, the cowards cornered him in a dark alley and assaulted him without a shred of pity. Grabbing the leader by the hair, he perfectly remembers the crook ordering him to stop messing with the Joe family. The memory of that wicked smile threatening to hurt his parents makes the MC boil with rage. Returning to the present moment, the redhead cries in terror, begging for his life and blaming the rich folks. Cutting to the chase, Chin Fan demands the payout money, and the trembling thug hands over the card and the pin. Pocketing the item, he realizes the preppy girl just wanted to silence him, certain that her plan will be a total flop. Suddenly, a girl comes running and yells from afar for him to stop what he's doing. The young Xiao Xuan storms over furiously, labeling the act as a crime, while her grandpa tries to calm her down but to no avail. Taking advantage of the situation, the redhead plays the victim and begs the pretty lady to save him from the assault. With no patience for acting, the MC delivers a powerful kick that sends the thug flying away. The boss of the hooligans lands face first in the grass, groaning in pain from the violent strike. Witnessing such audacity right in front of her, the girl foams at the mouth with anger at being completely ignored. Brushing off her outburst, the boy asks the goon with the phone if he managed to record everything perfectly. Flashing the bank card, he orders the cameraman to tell the rich lady he is taking that money back in her place. He guarantees he will prepare a massive surprise for next time, right as the young woman lunges to hit him. The bodyguard still tries to warn her it is a huge misunderstanding, but the girl has already launched her attack. Demanding he explain himself to the authorities, she charges in trying to land a direct blow. Dodging the high kick easily, Chin Fan evaluates her stance, commenting she is pretty but lacks real strength. With a basic move, he immobilizes the young woman by turning her around, causing her to struggle and curse non-stop. Panicking upon seeing his boss in danger, the bodyguard sprints over at top speed, ordering him to let her go that instant. The man in the suit throws a powerhouse punch, but the boy blocks the impact using only the palm of his hand. Witnessing that unbelievable block, the grandpa widens his eyes, utterly stunned. The pinned-down girl also can't believe the strength she is witnessing. Holding the man's hand, Chin Fan realizes he is a martial arts practitioner and that he attacked first. Since things have escalated, the boy decides there's no harm in being a bit more violent. With a lightning-fast counterattack to the chest, he blasts the bodyguard backward, kicking up a dust cloud. The elderly man shouts his employee's name in panic upon seeing him crash heavily into the dirt. Trembling, the young woman tries to wrap her head around how an elite combatant from the military district was taken down like that. She cannot process the fact that a top-tier warrior was bested by a kid with just one strike. To prevent a bigger mess, the gentleman quickly steps up and apologizes for both of their reckless actions. He explains his granddaughter just got back from a trip and acted on instinct, believing the boy was the bad guy in the situation. The young lady realizes he was only defending himself, and the MC states he just took the chance to snag the criminal's payout. Running away terrified in the background, the thugs cry, repeating that the Joe family forced them to do it. Fed up with the chaos, the boy lets go of the girl's hands and gently pushes her away. In a sarcastic tone, he compliments the girl's sense of justice, but suggests she apply it to the right person next time. The grandpa expresses gratitude for the young man's patience and asks for his name, hoping to make up for all the rudeness later. As he leaves, the young man warns he doesn't want to get close, but decides to leave some advice since fate crossed their paths. Without turning around, he advises the gentleman to take the bodyguard to a doctor and use the chance to get an emergency checkup for himself. This sudden and precise advice leaves the duo completely baffled in the middle of the park. Thinking about the power displayed, the elderly man deduces that, to beat his bodyguard, the boy can only be a mythical grandmaster. The young woman gets anxious, murmuring that it is impossible for someone so young to be such a rare talent in martial arts. Fascinated, the gentleman assures her the young man is in a league of his own and sees in him a divine opportunity for the Yi family. He is absolutely certain that enigmatic Cultivator will become the most powerful figure in the nation's history. Far from there, a phone is smashed hard against the wall, accompanied by a high-pitched scream of rage. In her lavish room, the preppy girl trashes everything, furious to learn the thugs failed miserably. With a wicked look, she wonders if that useless loser spent his whole life faking weakness. Soon, however, she regains her composure and decides a few martial arts tricks mean nothing against a family's true power. Holding a red lipstick, the cruel woman scoffs at the idea of her ex-fiancé planning a surprise. Touching up her makeup, she laughs while mentioning her father has already set up a flawless ambush, and she can't wait to see him beg for mercy. The following day, chatter about a $6 million relocation payout takes over the new neighborhood. At dinner time, the MC excitedly listens to his mother propose, using the money to start their own business. Enjoying his meal calmly, Chin Fan recalls that his parents' seed money in his past life was exactly the Joe's 10 million. Intrigued by the coincidence, he finds it sketchy for this relocation money to pop up right after he kicked the rich folks out of there. While his mother doesn't get the conversation, the young man firmly asks his parents to leave that negotiation up to him. Considering 6 million a huge lowball, the MC guarantees he will force the suits to pay a proper amount. Later that night, luxury cars start pulling up to a massive high-end underground casino in the city. Inside, the preppy girl struts around radiating sophistication and receives compliments from a guy about her exclusive outfit. Next to the young heir son Yiming, she thanks the flatterer, saying she dressed up a lot for the occasion. The man in the suit scans the room and notes that the Yi family invited the elite from every circle, making it prime time for networking. Thrilled by the chance, the young woman plots to be the center of attention at the anniversary of Jiangsu's biggest underground casino. Right then, the crowd starts murmuring in shock upon noticing the former heir of the Qin family betting heavy and cashing in. The dealer congratulates the player for winning 2 million in chips all at once. Noticing the commotion, the boy turns his head and greets his former fiancée in a sarcastic tone. Holding a glass, he says he was looking for exactly someone to challenge, leaving the girl utterly stunned. Beside her, son mocks the scene while the other wealthy guests assume the kid went broke and is trying his luck out of desperation. Unfazed, the cultivator throws in her face that his starting bankroll of 200,000 came right from her donation. Curious, Yiming asks if the girl knows the guy, but she brushes it off, claiming it was just an old business deal between their parents. Completely furious, Zuman tries to belittle the MC, saying that setting isn't for broke losers. Jumping into the drama, the trust fund kid figures the Qin family reject is trying to take advantage of his girlfriend's generosity. Finding that statement hilarious, the young man questions the girlfriend label with a sarcastic look. Right after, he pulls the engagement contract out of his pocket and offers to hand over the document along with his chips if the rich girl beats him in a game. Threatening to expose the truth to everyone if she doesn't accept, he makes the girl let out a desperate shriek and agree to the challenge on the spot. Full of rage, she orders the boy to disappear forever when he loses, while her partner steps up to teach the lesson in her place. Hyped for the duel, Qin Fan sets the rules for a dice game where the highest roller wins. The suit-wearing guy accepts instantly, arrogantly warning that his rival is digging his own grave. The wealthy crowd around them mocks the scene, noting that the young heir son is a natural expert at this kind of gambling. Confident in his skills, the rich kid shakes the dice cup, swearing he will wipe away his opponent's arrogance. On the other side, the cultivator repeats the same action with unshakable calm. With a swift motion, the preppy guy slams the metal cup hard onto the gambling table. Revealing 26 points, he is applauded by the guests, who consider that score practically unbeatable. However, the former heir lifts his cup revealing the absolute max score, and apologizes for his rival's bad luck. The employee declares the boy the winner, leaving the rich kid furious for losing by such a narrow margin. Gathering the chips, the MC states he won the bet and that his ex-fiancée failed the challenge. Refusing to accept it, she calls the outcome pure luck and demands a rematch in a best-of-3 format. Agreeing to the terms, the cultivator decides to up the ante by betting the deed to his own house, valued at 6 million. Holding the property deed, he guarantees he will sign over the asset on the spot if he loses. The preppy girl is floored upon realizing that is the exact amount her father had offered for the humble home. Wanting to crank up the tension, Qin Fan calls on anyone in the crowd to cover the bets if the girl's funds aren't enough. With a bruised ego, the duo takes the bait, and Sun promises his family will bankroll half the amount to bankrupt his rival. In the following round, the trust fund kid violently slams the cup and declares that now the lowest score wins. Showing only a total of 7 points, he celebrates early, thinking he has already won. Ordering the boy to go dig through the trash with his parents, he is caught off guard by an ironic smirk from his opponent. Lifting his cup, the MC reveals he rolled exactly 6 points and asks sarcastically who the real winner is. The wealthy couple is dumbfounded to see they failed again by a mere 1-point difference. Keeping up his superior attitude, the young man mocks them, asking if they want to play a best-of-5 or even a best-of-7. Completely hysterical, Yiming yells that he will keep betting, refusing to accept that piece of trash can stay lucky forever. The competition drags on in the room, with chips changing hands multiple times in a brutal streak. After one more round, the employee declares the MC's victory, as he has just racked up the insane amount of 1 billion. Sitting in front of a mountain of cash, he sarcastically asks why the elite crowd suddenly stopped laughing. The rich heir loses it, screaming that it is impossible for them to have lost every round and accusing his rival of cheating. Upon standing up to collect his prize, the cultivator is suddenly stopped by the table employee. The man in the suit politely asks the customer to follow him to the reception room to have a word with the manager. Agreeing to go, the boy demands his chips be cashed out first, but the employee just repeats for him to follow along. Relieved by the interference, the preppy girl is sure her ex-fiancé sealed his own fate by daring to steal on that dangerous turf. Upon arriving at the lavish office, the young man is greeted by a squad of security guards with hostile looks. Sitting in a bossy manner, the casino manager cuts to the chase and orders him to confess how he rigged the results. Cleaning his ear with total indifference, Chin Fan chalks it all up to luck and states the whole crowd is proof his game was clean. Rejecting the excuse, the boss points out how absurd it is for a broke guy with no gambling experience to try pulling a fast one in his joint. Out of patience, the guy in the suit orders his goons to attack to test the limits of the kid's guts. But before anyone touches him, the cultivator emits an intense blue aura, complaining about the terrible customer service. In another room of that same building, a mysterious man speaks calmly on the phone, instructing a young woman to take good care of an elderly gentleman's health checkup. Being interrupted right after, Mafia boss Jizu answers another call, complaining about being bothered with trivial issues. On the other end of the line, the casino manager begs for help in a completely terrified tone. Sprawled on the floor of the wrecked room, the suit-wearing man reports in a panic that an intruder just took down all the establishment's guards. Furious at the news, the big boss wants to find out immediately who had the nerve to cause a ruckus on his turf. Taking the defeated man's phone, Chin Fan introduces himself calmly and gives him a heads up that he's on his way to collect his prize face-to-face with the owner. Walking through the outer area of the casino, he drags the manager as a hostage, while the guy swears the kid has stepped into a fatal trap. The injured employee makes a point to emphasize that the Yi family is a supreme military force, and no apologies will save him now. Trying to scare him, the suit-wearing man guarantees the boss's private guards are infinitely better fighters than standard security. Completely ignoring the warning, the cultivator claps back saying he didn't go there to beat up weaklings, but to find a useful partner. The proposal to turn the Yi clan into a mere sidekick leaves the hostage shocked by the boy's sheer madness. Staying quiet, the MC figures that, even being tied to the mob, that family's reputation is way more respectable than his former relatives. In his past life, those mobsters never tried to ruin his parents and even kept honest deals with them during their hard times. Focusing on tomorrow, he deduces that using the Yi family as muscle will save him a lot of headaches while he strictly focuses on his training. At this moment, the sound of heavy boots and metal briefcases echoes across the courtyard of the massive, lavish complex. A battalion of suit-wearing guys quickly surrounds the duo, making the manager cheer at the arrival of backup with shouts of relief. All the men in suits bow deeply, greeting Mr. Chin with profound respect. Utterly stunned by the turn of events, the manager yells without understanding a thing, while the young man just calmly analyzes the scene. Then a man in an overcoat approaches quickly, apologizing for the poor reception and explaining it took a while to gather all the cash. He signals his guys to open the cases full of bills, showcasing the 1 billion prize the boy just won at the tables. Still in denial, the employee stutters, asking why the boss is treating an outcast from the Chin family like that. Having zero tolerance for disrespect, the mobster snaps at the manager harshly, ordering the fool to shut his mouth instantly. Angry, he demands they drag that insolent guy out of his sight right now and punish him with termination, based on the clan's strict military code. While the man is hauled away crying for mercy, the man in the suit formally introduces himself as Yi Jizu, the fourth heir of the family and casino owner. Asking forgiveness for his employee's behavior, the boss assures him he will do whatever it takes to meet any of the young man's demands to make up for the blunder. The MC asks if this is their first time meeting, and the mobster says yes, but points out that the boy's father was a huge benefactor to the Yi family. Curious about that tidbit, the cultivator asks if he means the former patriarch of the clan. Right at that moment, the loud sound of an arriving helicopter grabs the boy's attention, and he looks up at the sky, surprised by the sudden visit. To his shock, the girl from the park and the elderly man step out of the chopper, and the old man greets the boy quite enthusiastically. Yi Jizu rushes to welcome his daughter, making Chin Fan connect the dots and realize the elderly man is that cranky girl's grandpa. That honorable man is simply Yi Kung-jun, the supreme leader of the Yi family and one of the most important generals in the nation. Worried, the casino owner asks why his dad got discharged so early, but quickly gets a scolding from the old man, who brings up the disaster that nearly went down there. The general walks over talking about the coincidence that brought them together again, while his granddaughter mentions she was on the phone with her grandpa and heard the chaos at her dad's place. With a humble attitude, the gentleman asks the young man to accept the Yi family's sincere apologies, hoping to strike up a good friendship. Following her grandpa's lead, the girl bows deeply, clearly embarrassed by the earlier mix-up at the park. Pleased with the gesture, the MC figures dealing with folks of military background is much simpler, since they recognize and respect real strength. Taking advantage of the good vibes, Yi Jizu puts himself entirely at the young man's service, and even offers to hand over the luxury casino as an official apology. Coolly turning down the venue, Chin Fan declares they are now allies, but notes hauling around all that cash is going to be a bit tricky. Meanwhile, inside the main hall, the trust fund kid complains to the boy's ex-fiancée about how that nuisance ruined their fun. Hugging the rich boy, the preppy girl listens to him swear they will relentlessly mock the young man, once the bouncers toss him onto the curb all bruised up. However, the guests start whispering in fear as they notice the boy strolling back into the hall without a scratch and oozing confidence. Escorted by the big boss's guards, the cultivator casually orders them to stash all his money in the car, and is obeyed immediately. Hearing the men address the boy as Sir, the two rich snobs freeze entirely in fear, failing to comprehend the twist. Strolling casually up to the card table, the former heir announces he already got his payout and only came back to drop the final chip of the bet. Flashing a sarcastic smile, he holds up the old engagement contract and glares at his former partner with total disgust. The preppy girl instantly panics upon realizing the paper, publicly exposes her affair with young Masters. The crowd quickly starts gossiping about the Zhou family's lack of gratitude, recalling they only moved up in the world thanks to the Qin clan's massive support back in the day. Without a second thought, the MC rips the document in half and announces out loud that the girl doesn't deserve to be part of his family, officially ending the relationship. Tossing the torn pieces in the air like trash, he invites all the guests to witness the act and announces drinks are on him for the night. Humiliated in front of the whole elite crowd, the cruel woman screams in rage, but her rich partner backs away fast, stating he wants no ties with a dumped woman. Panicking, she tries to grab the preppy guy, but is shoved away forcefully as he calls her useless for trying to play him with that contract sob story. Leaving his former fiancée sobbing on the floor, the young man turns his back and ironically says he hopes she really enjoyed the little surprise. Marching toward the exit with a proud stride, he reflects that this show was just the start of his real payback. Late the next afternoon, the boy returns to his humble neighborhood, hyped and thinking the cash he scored will provide a feast for his parents. From the window, his mother spots a limited edition luxury car parking on the street and finds the visit sketchy, knowing their old relatives can't afford that. Out of the fancy car steps the high school principal along with some scary-looking thugs, being welcomed by the gang leader who calls him brother-in-law. The guy in the suit complains the humiliation he took in class turned into such a massive scandal, he didn't even have the guts to show up at the casino party the night before. Walking up the stairs of the rundown building, the principal vows he won't let a poor student walk away unpunished, and plans to dish out a memorable beating right in front of his whole family. Full of bad intentions, he advises his goons to go super hard on the kid, since the Qin family holds zero sway in the city anymore. Stopping right in front of the worn-out door, the guy adjusts his suit and guarantees he will teach him the hard way how unforgiving life in that world is. However, as soon as the door swings open, the principal's smug look vanishes as he comes face to face with elite soldiers standing in the middle of the living room. Totally bewildered by the bizarre scene, the intruders freeze at the entrance, unable to grasp what's happening inside the modest apartment. The principal, sweating bullets, mutters to his brother-in-law, thinking they got off on the wrong floor and accidentally walked into an officer's home. Right then, a familiar voice echoes from down the hall, calling out the two trespassers in a sarcastic tone. Hands in his pockets, the MC saunters in casually and asks why they didn't give a heads up before dropping by. Trying to regain his tough guy act, the old man in the suit screams, ordering the boy to call his parents right now so they can all kneel together in front of him. Pointing his finger furiously, the educator promises he will make the kid beg for mercy for having the nerve to disrespect the school's rules. Instantly, the military troops charge forcefully and neutralize the whole crew, making the principal scream in panic, demanding to be let go. Maintaining a rigid posture, the squad leader looks straight at the cultivator and asks what he wants to do with those annoying individuals. Finding the home delivery funny, the young man listens to the officer assure him that a single order is all it takes for the problem to be solved right away. Pinned to the floor with his face squished, the old man's eyes bug out in absolute terror as he realizes those high-ranking officers are taking orders from a mere student. Panicking, the educator tries to throw his weight around, yelling that teaming up with some random gang doesn't give the boy the right to challenge his authority. At the young man's request, the soldier lets the suited man up, who promptly stands, fixes his clothes, and brags about being backed by the city's top financial groups. With an arrogant smirk, the old guy scoffs, believing the MC let him go because he was terrified of his heavy connections. Cutting the chatter short, Qin Fan lunges with lightning speed and acts with utter ruthlessness against the loudmouth principal. Stunned, the gang leader screams in despair seeing his relative get severely punished, cowering on the floor without the guts to step in. Amazed by the boy's coldness, the soldiers highly praise Master Qin's relentless attitude with great excitement. Knocked on his back, the principal clutches his busted face and screams in rage, unable to accept that kid dared to hit him again. Showing zero pity, the boy dishes out a harsh punishment on the old tyrant, sparking a high-pitched cry of pain that echoes through the whole room. The painful scene makes the suited man squirm, and even the seasoned guards break a cold sweat watching the extreme beatdown. Glaring down at the scum at his feet, the MC coldly lists all the principal's corrupt crimes, ranging from embezzlement to abusing the staff. With a dark look, the cultivator confesses he knows all about the embarrassing videos the old man secretly passed around to appease the Chin elite. Hearing his worst dirty laundry aired out, the man goes into shock and stutters, asking how the student knew all that. Trying to take back control, the principal spits blood and threatens that one single phone call is all it takes to ruin the boy, using the power of his former family. Taking the bet, the young man offers his own phone to the old guy and lets him dial up his most influential contact for immediate help. Clutching the device in desperation, the man in the suit calls the boy an idiot for not knowing the second heir of the military Yi family goes to that exact school. At that very moment, Yijizu walks into the apartment cordially carrying a box and is instantly recognized by his uniformed nephew. The military officer freaks out hearing his name being used as a threat so recklessly and yells, begging the boy to ignore the principal's nonsense. Upon recognizing the mob boss at the door, the educator turns pale and stammers, not grasping what a big shot like him is doing there among them. Catching on to the situation fast, the mobster explains his nephew only goes there for the good education and that the Yi family has zero ties to the institution. Finally putting it all together, the old man in the suit scans the room and goes into full-blown panic upon realizing all the soldiers belong to the untouchable military Yi family. Bewildered, the principal points his finger and asks the boss why he is standing up for a mere rejected teenager. With zero tolerance, Yijizu takes a puff of his cigar and warns intimidatingly that taking him out quickly would be an act of mercy. Feeling his soul leave his body from sheer terror, the old guy in the suit agrees immediately, stuttering in absolute submission. The leader of the hooligans collapses on his back, totally terrified upon realizing the kid actually got the military's backing. Trembling and sweating cold, the educator stares at the student in dread and begs to know what he did to get that kind of power. Playing it totally cool, the MC declares he just swung by the casino and made some easy cash. Right then, the suit-wearing employees start arranging a massive spread of luxury dishes on the house's modest table. The boy's parents are completely disoriented by that fancy feast suddenly appearing in front of them. The mother asks what's going on, while the father concludes the guys came specifically to apologize. In tears, the principal degrades himself, admitting they acted like animals and charged the family extortionate fees. His mobster relative also drops to his knees begging for forgiveness, while the mother finds the amount refunded in cold hard cash pretty sketchy. Stepping up, Yijizu assures the parents the evidence of the crimes is foolproof, and his family will ensure justice is served. Calming his folks down, Chin-fan guarantees they no longer need to stress over school issues. Changing the subject fast, the cultivator asks the mobster about the progress of the business deals they had planned out. The father expresses deep gratitude for the financial help, but the crime boss replies humbly that their families are now allies. Yijizu pulls the young man aside for a private chat, explaining his uncle arranged a special banquet to celebrate. Walking down the hall, the man in the suit reports he already ordered all footage and evidence of the ruckus at the school to be wiped. Passing over some vials, the cultivator instructs that old man consume those healing herbs to improve his health. Pleased with the proven loyalty, the young man assigns his parents' safety to the goons so he can focus on his own goals. Adopting a serious tone, the mobster confesses his family needs a massive favor from the young master. Given the green light to continue, Jizu explains the clan works alongside the military and often bumps into martial arts practitioners. He shares that 9 years ago, the clan was nearly wiped out by a highly lethal hitman. The opponent goes by Lan Ziasheng, a guy who allegedly reached the absolute peak of martial arts in the country. Back then, the armed forces exiled the villain for 10 years, but they know he held a grudge and will return soon to seek payback. Catching on to the plan, Chin Fan figures they want him as a heavy-hitting partner, but the boss corrects him, designating him as their guardian deity. Offering total submission, the suit-wearing man assures him the whole family is ready to act as a stepping stone for the boy's growth. Finding the bold offer funny, the former heir casually says he really liked their attitude. With a firm handshake, they seal the deal and swear cooperation from that moment forward. Later, upon returning to his dark room, the MC sits on his bed and channels all his energy for an intense training session. With a glowing sigil in his hand, he figures he'll have practically no rivals on Earth as soon as he hits the master stage. Hyped about the next steps, the young man conjures a golden flame with his fingers and tosses the magic paper into the Watching the mystical fire dance on his hand, he gets ready to begin the complex alchemy procedure. With a swift motion, he tosses the healing herbs into the magical flames, commanding the reaction to trigger on the spot. During the burning process, he notes that normal plants have low energy, but the volume is enough to produce elementary pills. With the elements hovering around him, the boy complains that initial flame is too weak and useless for the future. Right away, he pops one of the newly made pills, knowing they will do the trick for his current stage. Sitting in a state of deep meditation, the cultivator activates the mythical blue firmament technique to soak up the energy. With the magical aura swirling fiercely, he focuses on locking all that spiritual power directly into his body. Opening his eyes with a brilliant flash, the MC announces that at last he is fortifying his mortal body. The very next day, the young man shows up looking imposing at the Yi family estate and is welcomed with bows from all the staff. Walking through the massive hallways, he is greeted by the old general, who beams with joy at seeing him again. The gentleman expresses deep gratitude for the medicine delivered the day before, revealing that even the doctors were stunned by his rapid recovery. Staying modest, Chinfan clarifies that pill only served to prep the old man's body for today's real procedure. Having total faith in the young man, the general's granddaughter says she'll leave him in good hands and exits the room escorted by guards. With the space completely empty, the former heir points to the chair and politely asks the gentleman to take a seat. As the door clicks shut, the MC thinks to himself, recalling the name of a kid named Yahello. Channeling blue energy into the old man's back, the boy remembers that was the only rich kid who tried to help him back in the day. In a painful flashback, he relives the rainy afternoon when he was brutally beaten by a gang of bullies on the street. Down and bleeding on the ground, he watched a youth in a red hoodie step in front of the thugs to protect him. The gang leader, son of a big shot in town, mocked the savior, claiming the trash had ruined his fresh kicks. The bully demanded the boy kneel to pay for the offense, but the kid in the jacket offered to cover the damages for him. Totally paralyzed by panic, the past Chinfan caved to the bullying and dropped to his knees in the puddle without putting up a fight. Trying to pull him up, his benefactor ordered him to grow a spine, but the boy cried, saying he couldn't rely on that protection forever. Pushing his protector away, the cowardly boy reasoned he would just take a worse beating later, sparking vicious laughter from the criminals. Submitting once again, he heard the young man ask if that humiliation would actually buy him peace in the future. The kid in the hoodie's expression changed, completely disappointed by the lack of drive from someone who refused to fight back. Turning his back in the pouring rain, the hero walked away, stating that those who don't fight for themselves aren't worth saving. Snapping back to the present, the cultivator recognizes that the dread of causing trouble for his parents stopped him from accepting that genuine kindness. With a fierce glint in his eye, he regrets that, after that unfortunate event, the two never crossed paths again in his past life. Wrapping up the magical procedure on the general, the boy reflects on how funny fate is to have them bump into each other again like this. Shaking off the fatigue, the old man stands up, stretching his arms, amazed to feel decades younger. Handing over a green vial, the boy advises there are a few more capsules inside to revitalize the rest of the clan. Asking for zero payment, the MC flashes a friendly smile, declaring they now share a strong bond. Returning to the hall, the granddaughter hugs her grandpa tightly and cries tears of joy upon seeing he was completely healed in the blink of an eye. Walking the boy to the door, Yijizu pledges lifelong loyalty, but the young man plays it down, saying it was no big deal. Cashing in on the goodwill, the cultivator asks his ally to track down a spot packed with natural energy for his morning training sessions. Next, he rattles off a list of highly rare plants, making the suited man jot it all down fast so he doesn't hold things up. Switching gears, the boy mentions he is going back to class to give his mom peace of mind, getting a guarantee of total secrecy from the mob boss. Taking a drag of his cigar, Jizu suggests throwing a massive bash to celebrate the shakeup in the school's administration. He reports that all the students and teachers are dying to know who the savior was that rescued the institution. Waving off the over-the-top party, the boy suggests some laid-back activity would be way more appropriate. Over the next few days, a massive banner is hung at the school gate, announcing a giant autumn sports festival. On the field, students carry water bottles while grumbling about how weird it is to take this kind of tournament seriously. Looking at the packed courtyard, some students chat and thank their lucky stars the new management gave them such a nice break. Jogging casually on the track, the cultivator celebrates internally for shaping the initial framework of his oppressive infernal physique. Running along the track circuit, the main character notes he will need a ton of extra spiritual energy to level up his cultivation base. In the bleachers, the girl Zio Xuen talks to her dad on her cell, confirming she is now in the same homeroom and praising the boy's good looks. With the festival about to kick off, the cultivator casually gets ready as he hears the announcement on the loudspeaker. At that moment, he spots a student walking toward him across the grass. Getting closer, the boy Yi Haeokshun brings up the rumors of Chin Fan taking out the casino guards and asks if he is really that tough. The crack of the starting pistol rings out across the track field. Giving no time for reply, the former heir takes off at jaw-dropping speed, leaving everyone floored. In the tennis match, he unloads a swing so fierce it breaks the racket and cracks the court's pavement. In the long jump, the young man launches himself and glides through the air effortlessly. Sticking a perfect landing, he leaves the judges speechless by shattering a world record right on the spot. Funneling his energy into basketball, the MC throws down a dunk with such force it shatters the entire glass backboard. Rubbing the back of his neck amid the broken glass, he figures he needs to dial it back so he doesn't draw too much attention. In the stands, the students go wild, screaming that his performance is absolutely unreal. Watching everything from a distance, a mysterious girl locks her eyes solely on the boy's talents. In a secluded spot, a guy in a suit radios in that the area is secured and commands the troops to get in formation to attack. The tournament moves on to the school's massive pool. Climbing out of the water after locking in the win, Chin Fan takes a deep breath to catch his breath. In the seats, a group of young women are totally mesmerized by his physique. Annoyed by the fangirl's hysteria, Zio Xuan crosses her arms while the old general just watches, finding it amusing. The old man states proudly that such an absurd skill set would never stay locked up in a place so small. Slightly behind, Haeokshun also hops out of the water completely exhausted and blown away by his classmates' speed. Towing off his face, he hypes up the MC's stellar performance. The rich kid throws his towel over his shoulder and asks why someone with so much talent suffered so much in the past. Not understanding the extreme 180, he admits it feels like he's standing in front of a completely different person. Offering a hand to his old buddy, the cultivator says he can view him as a Chin Fan who came back from the dead. Suddenly, the students from the bleachers crowd around the edge of the pool to congratulate the winner. Swarming the boy in seconds, they shower him with compliments and ask if they can be his friends. A group of students in the back whispers about the glow-up of the outcast kid who turned into a powerful billionaire. Spotting Haeokshun, the girls also try to rope the young master of the Yi family into the chat. Feeling cornered in that mob, the former heir politely asks them to make way so he can dip. Startled by the sudden request, the girls take a step back a little spooked. Instantly, the two of them take off running across the courtyard to dodge all that attention. Watching the scene from afar, Zio Xuan doesn't get the reason for the hasty getaway. Her grandpa lets out a hearty laugh, getting a kick out of the kid's chaotic energy. Hidden away from the sunlight, shady mercenaries sneak through the hallways, setting up a stealthy trap. Creeping down the stairs, the tactical squad moves quietly through the building. Over the radio, they get the target's coordinates and strict orders to take him alive. As the boys walk down the second-floor hall, one of the thugs kicks the classroom door open violently. Seeing the armed crew blocking the path, Chin Fan casually remarks his suspicions were on the money. Haeokshun drops into a fighting stance, proposing they clear out the intruders before recess ends. Suddenly, a scream of pain echoes from inside the next room. One of the criminals is hurled against the door with full force. Stepping over the downed enemies, the boys keep moving down the hall while the MC gives his buddy props on his combat skills. The former heir notices the head count of intruders scattered around the school is pretty high. Checking the time, he warns he needs to wrap up that cleanup operation fast so he doesn't stall the afternoon games. Down in the school cafeteria, things are still chill among the students. Eating her lunch, young Zio Xuan mentions her grandpa had to step out to handle some business stuff. She quickly zones out, daydreaming about the cultivator's impressive physique at the pool. Trying to hide her blushing, the girl repeats to herself she needs to stay on good terms with her family's hero. Grabbing her phone, she decides to ring up Haeokshun to figure out where they are. Not too far away, a mercenary's hiding spot is blown when his radio starts buzzing nonstop. Before he can even react, the crook is blindsided by a dark figure popping up right behind him. With zero time to defend, the intruder is knocked out cold without a sound, in the blink of an eye. The scene cuts to the massive indoor court of the sports complex. Cornered by heavily armed thugs, the leaders of the Yi family stare danger right in the face. The mercenary commander taunts the general, implying the old man lost his edge from back in the day. Keeping his stone-cold demeanor, the gentleman asks if the 10-year truce has already expired. The thug fires back furiously that they came back to collect on past debts, no matter the cost. Yi Jizu cuts off the threat, calling the crew trained dogs who sold out their own country. Clapping back at the insult, the lead invader states they only work for the highest bidder. The red laser of a sniper rifle zeroes right in on the targets inside the gym. Seeing his tactical advantage, the mercenary keeps up an attitude of absolute control. Showing zero fear, the elderly general continues to give off an imposing aura of power. The crook holds up his radio and mocks the school's security, but rubs it in their faces that everyone there is his hostage. He dials up the threat, guaranteeing one word is all it takes to wipe out the clan's heirs. Jizu shoots back at the provocation instantly, daring the thug to try it. Kaki, the mercenary, keys his mic to talk to his sniper squad. However, the device stays dead silent for a few seconds before a completely unfamiliar voice comes through. Chill footsteps start echoing through the bleachers, drawing everyone's eyes in the room. Chin Fan strolls in slowly, messing with the stolen comms gear, looking totally bored. One of the thugs panics, telling the boss that all the other squads just went dark. General Yi clarifies they used the invaders' arrival in the country as bait to funnel them all into one spot. The cultivator backs him up, claiming it was way too easy to hunt down all the trespassers hiding around the school. Utterly stunned, the mercenary boss refuses to accept that his whole operation crumbled so fast. Radiating a glowing blue aura, the young man warns that the warm-up is over and calls the enemies out for a real fight.